G'day guys, and welcome to the review, another extended review of Randwick's meeting Saturday. Was it the 2nd of October, 1st of October? Sorry, it's a bit late this week, it's been pretty hectic. And all into the Sunday meeting at Flemington. I'll go through a few of those too, and hopefully get through them more quickly and find something for everyone. So we start at Randwick on Saturday, 3-metre rail, very windy as publicised, very difficult to lead and win unless you really were able to control the tempo. Definitely an advantage to sit just off with cover and come a few off the rail. All in all, pretty decent track really. Most runners had their chance. The 2-year-olds probably did it tougher than anyone. And getting into it, we start with the 2-year-olds. So they've run pretty solid times both races. They've gone out pretty solidly, and most runners have had their chance. Georgia was the early price favourite and heavily backed favourite in this race. Godolphin just went up in the air a little bit there. 2 runners come from out wide here and didn't mention it, and Chain of Falls both go pretty quick in front and knock up pretty badly. I'd be very forgiving of them going forward to the future. Kangazai misses the kick badly back here. Important in the end as it obviously runs on really well to run second. Maybe overplayed a little bit, but still a very good effort. The other runner that runs well with limited luck in the straights, Lucky Louie here, but also is in a probably pretty solid position. The winner lobs in a good spot, Georgia. She's obviously well publicised too as being a bit of a runt. She's tiny, not developed at all, and still putting horses away like this pretty comfortably. It's obviously a good sign for her going forward. I would be very surprised if she had another run this prep and she wasn't tipped straight out and brought back later, given some time to develop. So a bit of interference here. Didn't mention it was beaten at the time, knocked out of the race. Lucky Louie and Kangazai coming through the middle, pretty solid. Grasslands out the back here was pretty solid its last 200. The other runner that sort of sat in here, Madame Moustache, was the one who got checked pretty badly, only gets beaten a length and a half. I don't think there's a lot between the horses behind Georgia. I think she's pretty dominant. If she comes back at improved type, she'd be even more dominant over these fillies, and she's definitely the horse to follow. They're pretty hard to pin many horses here. I thought they all showed something, whether it be speed or the ability to sort of run on there at the end, and there was some good upside in most of these horses. I don't think it's a weak opener, that's for sure, and I do think a lot of these fillies will make some sort of grade either with time or in the near future. But it was interesting to see the 2 roughies of the field running on powerfully for second and third, and showed pretty much what the trial showed, that there wasn't any standouts apart from Georgia really, and her lack of physical ability at this stage. It's not presence more than ability, was probably what stopped her being an even more dominant favourite, but she still got the job done. Race 2, and the Colts here, there were definitely 2 standout performances from the first 2. There was a little bit of an issue here with Piracy and the Mission. Well, the Mission was just worked itself up terribly and basically didn't take part. Piracy sat outside a fast, solid tempo and basically knocked up, had to face the breeze. So that's a good pointer to how good an effort Condor Hero's run is here. I think he was the standout performance of the 2-year-olds, and it will be interesting to see where he ends up and whether he's a speed horse or he's given a sit when it's possible from a more adaptable gait. So he was pretty much had to do what he had to do here, even though the wind was up. He's punching it. This is the Khan, the eventual winner back here, who gets cover, comes out, gets cover around the bend, and pulls the probably better part of the track too in the straight. Just a perfect ride from Shin. Condor Heroes fights off Piracy, works hard in the betting and ends up getting beaten a long way. puts a gap in the rest of them, and then Khan's exposed late, has done no work in the run, gets to the best part, hasn't had to touch the wind, and hits the line strongly. No knock on Khan. Thought his effort was still very strong through the line. Definitely no knock on Condor Heroes. He's really battled on well, and the gaps behind show that those two are pretty superior to the rest. Again, looks a pretty strong race, and there's horses back here, Misty Lab, but I want to give another chance to. Invader was okay late, and the Mission and Piracy were complete for give. So, again, I wouldn't be surprised whether that's in the near future or after they've been given a tip out and a bought back, that a lot of these horses are really competitive in good class races. It was a pretty strong up 2-year-old event. So, and again, not much between them in trials. Khan's trial I thought was very good. Showtime will go around this Saturday and looks an interesting runner. I was the same opinion as a few people that I thought Showtime trial better than Khan, and was keen to see him go around in this race. And when he drew poorly, they kept him for this week. So it'll be interesting to see him go around and the 2-year-olds this week. Race 3, don't want to spend much time on it. No real point in looking at the replay. Hit somewhat just better than them, really out-sprinted them. They went steady, but still solidly enough to give everyone its chance, and it was just too solid for Spirit Jim, who did look as fleeting danger, and then good gaps behind. So it somewhat found the right race, and a bit of a gift of a $150,000 Group 3. Possibly, or definitely the worst race of the day here. There were no horses really set up for this 3-year-old mile to run well. Probably Mo Queen had one of the better setups, having had the mile run leading into this, but she didn't really do a lot, and she definitely finds the right spot here, stays out of trouble, gets the best part, and finishes them off. I think she'll be heavily found out by the marketplace in the future. I think they'll really be risking her next start. I don't think there'll be any huge advantage in taking her on, even though I do think it is the right play. She definitely was heavily flattered here. They don't go hard. They don't come home particularly quickly, considering how slowly they've gone out. And the second horse was obviously a Tragedy Beaten, but again, Tragedy Beaten in a poor race. So I'll be a little bit careful. We'll go have a quick look at it and point out what sort of happens. So first up, this is the horse I do have a bit of an opinion of, and probably a bigger step up in grade than I hoped for from our Belisa here, and I was very surprised to see them sort of going forward from an awkward gate, but then to go forward and jag back and take a 3-wide trail was an even funnier ride. I thought here they didn't seem to be going hard. You knew Octavian Augustus was going to give it up. Hez Dallin with the blinkers on looked the leader, and it was strange that Ty doesn't sort of roll forward with that horse rather than jagging back and doing what he does by sitting wide, no cover throughout. So bit of a funny ride here, I thought.
Hez Dallin goes forward and Octavian Augustus third. Calabasas up into fourth, followed by Nemrod. Then Earth from McQueen, and Handed In's last of a
so they sort of
well, we haven't got a clear cut
settle in these positions.
Hez Dallin's up on the outside of Octavian Augustus, who's pulling its way forward, but Hez Dallin gets about a neck in front now. Williams
throughout walking, we've got the winner back. Mo Queen back last, just letting it all unfold. Nemrod, which is the hard luck story of the race, ends up in this position. Octavian Augustus was hard in betting. Perth basically had her chance. Octavian Augustus was complete for give. Just a strange race to go into. Doesn't have his chance in the straight, and just a really weird placing of the horse. Calabasas pulls out of the race at the end, it pulls up lame, so complete for give there. Just an ugly race with horses that really weren't ready for the mile put there, and it just didn't make sense in a lot of ways. Nemrod's in behind here, is the one that's unlucky. Mo Queen's the one stays out of trouble and just finishes over them. Our Belisa obviously sat wide throughout. Octavian's back on the fence having no luck, and Calabasas pulls up lame. So as strong as Nemrod is here, I think he'll get further. I think he will get further, definitely, and he's probably the horse to look at if there is one out of the race, but I'd be much more inclined to be negative on the horses in here, especially if they're looking to go up in trip from this rather than positive. Touching again, the only horse I could be forgiving of were our Belisa back in grade, and Nemrod up in trip does definitely look to be looking that way. Yeah. Next race, much publicised, Stern, very short price favourite, as being $1.45. They've gone slow here and just ripped home. Basically gave Stern no winning chance. An incredible effort for him to get as close as he did. A really good ride from McAvoy to take off exactly when he has. He's pinched that winning break, and he's probably a little bit underplayed, if anything. Go through the race now.
Flash Vivian goes for up. Out by a length. Mount Panorama came off the fence. So Blake Shin's getting plenty of wind resistance on Cap. He's really starting to go through his gears on the outside.
So we'll go back to the turn. We'll see the break that the Sterns had to try and make up, and they've absolutely broken the clock the last 600 here. I think it's publicised he's run 32.8, or maybe even quicker than that, which is about as fast as you'll see a horse go, especially around a bend, especially at Randwick. So the time's crazy. His run's incredible. No knock on the winner. He's done everything he possibly could. And for me, the clear second best horse in the race. Stern the best. Capitalist third. So I think they've finished probably in the wrong order. The first, second, third. They're probably second, first, third in order of class. But this horse is adaptable, and he's going to pinch a lot of races by doing exactly what he did there. Controlling, using his acceleration and his speed to beat horses that may have better ability than him, but don't have the same adaptability that he does. So a good effort, not really much to spend time on there. Stern definitely on track for races like the Coolmore, Russian Revolution. It's definitely not going to be out of place in anything either. You know, a race like the Coolmore will suit him too. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, and I believe Capitalist goes to the Manikato. I'm not going to knock him there because I know how strong this form is of the first two horses. Similar race here with smallish field and a short price favourite chasing home the horse that leads and dominates. They did roll along a little bit more solidly here, which is probably to the advantage of the winner. She's dragged the sprint out of that filly back in the field by maintaining a solid tempo and then kicking off the bend. Yankee Rose has had to come wide here and maintain quite a long run. So is Cezanne, and this winner's not stopping. So I think maybe Global Glamour was a little bit underplayed class-wise here. She didn't have a lot of luck this preparation, and leading and dictating sort of brought the best out in her. I think Yankee Rose had a chance. I'm surprised how short she's come up in a race like the Spring Champion on Saturday, even though she's a classy filly. And it'd be interesting to see how she does go up in trip, Talking Oaks and things like that. But the winner, no knock on it. It goes to the 1,000 guineas and can't see why it won't be competitive again. It's a high-class filly. Cezanne probably to be dominant or a real strong winning chance. Maybe needs to go back a grade. I think these two have her measure, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with her. Again, a race that doesn't need a lot of time spent on it. We'll have another quick look at what Awoke and Skylight Glow did in the straight. They're probably both a little bit... Skylight Glow race a little bit keen, probably didn't finish off, and Awoke's the one that is definitely looks not all to be right with her. She's not stretching out and really doesn't find the line, and a bit of a worrying sign. I'm not sure what they'll do with her. They might be a bit patient and give her some time to the autumn following that run.
Then came Skylight Glow from Awoke and Bridal Lane.
The Epsom, and much publicised, the speed that Fabrizio goes out in definitely was the fastest race of the day. They've gone out sort of 7.5 lengths quicker, just as this is off official time still, to the 600 metres, which is pretty quick in a Group 1 race. I thought this was a little bit expected. You watched the run of Fabrizio last start where he pulled early against a free-going horse and signposted and couldn't be held slow enough to not let that horse dictate himself. So he was taken to the front there by a pretty strong rider in Tim Clark. No knock on Johan, but he's not someone that had never ridden the horse before, and for him to jump on it the first time, it was always going to be a big task for him to try and hold this horse. And when he's just given him a little bit more leather here, he's just taken control and gone out a little bit quicker than they would have suggested. I was probably expecting sort of a 3 or 4 lengths quicker than average time, and he's probably gone out that 3 or 4 lengths quicker again. I'm saying it was a positive for the race as a whole, but obviously if the horse could have been rated a little bit better, he would have finished a little bit closer, and he's run a positive race. You can see he's still in front with 200 to go, so it's not as if he's dropped out and beaten a million miles. He's battled on really strongly. He's still in front with, what's that, 120 metres to go, so he's run a huge race for a horse so inexperienced and at this level. And if you're going to mark a horse to follow from the race, he's probably it. He's beaten into 10th position, and he's been beaten 2.7, 3.5 lengths, and only beaten, 1.5 lengths out of 2.5 lengths out of 5th position. He's really not finished that far behind them, and he's got a nice gap behind him to the rest. So he's run a really positive race. Going back and looking at the winners, Run Hiraki, he's dead last here, and his run is quite incredible, really. It's not as if they were slowing down significantly. I thought Le Romain ran the race of his life here. I don't think he runs the mile out strongly, even though he is a Randwick Guineas winner. McIntosh second up's gone enormous. Here comes Hiraki down the outside. Dibiani, who's a bit of a perennial place getter, really did stick his head out today, and just a stiff effort to get run down by a better horse on the day. Huge win. Why I think it's a huge win is because you've got a horse like Happy Clapper here, who's sat third back the fence, given a perfect ride, barely goes around a horse, comes around the back of McIntosh here and in straight into the clear, and he's given momentum. You see Hiraki still held up here last. Momentum, a better run, and basically everything he could give away to Happy Clapper. They've had both good preparations. He's still 2 or 3 in front of him at the furlong. Happy Clapper probably looked the winner to me, and Hiraki picks him up and carries him the last 100. An incredible effort from Hiraki, who's absolutely flying, obviously. I was a little bit disappointed in McCreary. I thought he was a little bit weak late, but still a good effort. Probably just maybe found out class-wise. Heavens Above, back to this grade, was a good effort, strong, just beaten by better horses, and back to mare's grade, she'll be a nightmare. McIntosh second up was just a huge effort, and I think the form from this race will be strong. Not sure where Fabrizio will go. I'd love to see Le Romain back to 1,400 metres. I thought I was a little bit over in this preparation. I wasn't really sure what his level was, but he's shown here that he's top class, but it's a little bit of a test for him to run a strong mile out. And Happy Clapper's apparently going to the Cox Plate, where he'll probably battle away in there for a minor position. But the ones going forward from a spring point of view that can definitely feature are Heavens Above back to Phillies grade, Le Romain back to 1,400, Hiraki in something similar, McIntosh in something similar. Dibiani's always going to be battling around there, and they're the main players for mine. Torgerson, Vanbrugh all probably had their chances and did well to finish on the leaders' heels, but that's about their level. They had great setups, hard fit, everything in their favour. Mighty Lucky's a forgive run out of the race. Not sure what happened to Palantino, but just too bad to be true, beaten a long way. Another race that was a bit funny here in the Metropolitan. Storm the Stars has set a pretty softish tempo in front and dropped out. These horses, no surprise to see them running at the back of the field in Quartermaster Amex. Magic Hurricane was definitely disappointing. So was Grand Marshal DIC that chased the slow pace. Who Shot the Barman really never came on. Janube's my warning sign for the race in how well he's run and where he's finished. I thought Sense of Occasion was actually probably one of the runs of the race. Sacred Master, Allergic, both same as Janube, had pretty solid setups for this and ran as well as they could. Antonio Giuseppe's ran out of its skin for mine. I couldn't have it running a place, and I think he's done a really good job to run second. And Sir John Hawkwood's obviously been very well placed, very well prepared, very well ridden, and everything went right for him on the day, and they got their result. So having a quick look at it, they settled into position pretty early, don't do a lot. The only horse that's really had to cover ground and do any work early, Sense of Occasion. He's just in great form for the new stable, putting in good runs. He finds a decent enough position there, but he's done a bit of work at the same time, whereas nothing else really has in the race. Comes with Antonio Giuseppe, which go back and show where the winner was. So the winner's third defence, comes around one horse, makes his move nice and early. Blake Spriggs has summed it up really well. He knows he's got a lot of horse under him. He's got a horse that's got a bit of a turn of foot, and he's established a break, which is a winning break, and it was a great ride. Horses coming wide here, Who Shot the Barman. Grand Marshall's had every possible and really done very little. Janube's the one here that's the warning sign, the 9-year-old that's really struggling to win a race, and see he's finishing off as hard as anything, and that's a bit of a nightmare for me for horses going to bigger races. You can probably make a case that Sacred Master, first time 2400 OK, Antonio Giuseppe, same thing, and they've probably got a bit more improvement than the rest, but hard to really come into them. Maybe DIC you can be a little bit forgiving of. The winner's second up at 2400 metres and beaten them. He's just probably got a bit of quality on them, and he's probably the one with a bit more life left in his legs compared to the rest, and I assume he goes to the Caulfield Cup and he runs well. Sets of Occasion goes to the Tats Cup Saturday week, I believe, and he'll be nice and competitive there. And I assume a bunch of these horses will be going to that race. But they're the two picks for mine, and probably Sacred Master still coming up in grade. I don't know whether Antonio Giuseppe's still got more left to give, but if he does line up, that's a good sign that he's still thriving and going well. Last race, and times say they didn't run along too badly here, pretty even tempo, and the two leaders do basically drop out, so they probably didn't go as quick as I thought. A few things happen at the start which affect the finish. Quickly you'll see that Southern Legend jumps dramatically clear, but a preconceived plan from the stable to ride the horse off the place has probably gone against them here. If he had sprung the gates and ended up outside the leader leading, or even if he let these horses go, it looks like it would have been a much more positive position, and using the same amount of energy as he has to drag back and end up in a more negative position here. So that probably cost him a very strong chance of winning the race, and that can be put down to the wide barrier and a bit of an error in tactics maybe. The winner sits third defence. The second horse, Our Boy Malachi, sits 3 wide, no cover with Southern Legend on its back, so pretty solid effort from him. Kaepernick pops out, drops out after being a little bit fierce in the run, but given every chance. Thought Amavatio ran quite well first up, and English has basically had her chance. She's had as much chance as anything back in the field anyway, but not a lot to run on here, and it's pretty on-pace dominated. The other horse that's run obviously extremely well. I'm still trying to work out how I got it beat in the Class 1 at Weil. He's Danish, what's it called? Sorry. Danish Twist, who's run really well first up in this grade. Had been trialling well, but still she had the run and really ran well, and just nosed out by a couple of classy horses. He really does lift under pressure takedown, and he's a real racehorse that knows where the line is and knows what to do. 1400 metres for him for me, and he's going to be a nightmare to beat. He's just in rare form, and once he rolls along in front and he sees something coming at him, if he's got time to react, he's really tough to get past. No knock on Our Boy Malachi's run really well first up. He obviously likes that bit of racing room, and I thought the ride was a bit funny, but it's obviously to his advantage, and he's done a great job. I'm not sure what they do with English. I think Southern Legend's ready to win. He just needs to draw a gate. He's definitely in good enough form to pick up a race over the spring. Amavatio, once it gets up to its trip, will probably pick something up also. And I think that the form out of this will be okay. I think those first half a dozen are definitely ready to win. Rebel Dane was no surprise to see it running on. It's a classy horse, and it looked well placed in this race, and that's his go. He's probably 2 or 3 lengths below what he was, and he would have been picking that race up in the past. So that's Randwick Saturday. Flemington Sunday we'll go through quickly. We'll look at the 2-year-old race to start the day. This is the pick of the 2-year-old races over the weekend for mine. This is Her Heart on the inside. in the nose roll. So she shows good pace, travels sweetly for a first starting 2-year-old in high winds down a straight course. When asked for her effort here, the 200, she lengthens exceptionally for mine, and then again by the 100 she's really hitting top gear, shut down with 50 to go up and still finding the line under her own steam. It's hard to go this early, but she's a very nice 2-year-old, and I've struggled to, that's as good a 2-year-old as I've seen early for a long time. Big good gaps behind, opening up, time strong, everything looks positive for this horse. No knock at all, and just look at her lengthen there, and look at her lengthen again at the 100. She's changing stride, just wanting to find the line. Nose roll's a good indicator that she's got plenty of improvement to come, and she looks a serious horse. Race 2 was a pretty average race and not worth looking at for mine. Race 3 is an interesting race from a going forward perspective. They run along at sort of an even tempo here. The time was okay. The horses that I want to have a look at were High Lad, sitting outside the leader, the only horse to sit in that position and sort of kick on. The horses around it drop out, and it's the only one that sort of takes control here in the blinkers. The horse I was keen on was Odie, and I was hoping to be up in this sort of position, but had to make too long a run from back. Rocketeer did the opposite and cut inside gaps, and Wine Bush through here with Bowman runs quite well. From a Derby perspective, this is the horse I'm interested in, High Lad. I thought he battled on considerably better than anything else did on pace, especially late, and was entitled to drop out if he was weak. He had, I believe, hang on, I just want to get this right. So High Lad was 29 days between runs and going from 1340 up to 1800 metres and travelled from New Zealand. So it's incredible effort and just has to be huge improvement in this horse going forward. It has to be a Derby contender. Looks a big, strong brute of a thing. I know these horses get away from him a little bit the last bit, but they've had a lot more in their favour, a lot more conventional preparation, and you'll see, like you can see him just grinding hard away from horses late. Kent wasn't too bad late, but he just sat back, done nothing, and really just let to get under the line. He didn't have a lot of luck, and he's one that can improve. Definitely not a sack horse. I think that was Odeon's chance to do something. I'd be surprised if he got better as the distances went longer against this quality. And they're your main hopes, but High Lad's a very interesting horse for me going towards the Derby. Race 4, weird tactics here from Farthanar. Horse that had run horses off their legs last start to advantage, decided to just try and sit and walk, and basically got completely out sprinted by classy sit sprinters. They're just better at that caper than he is. See here, they're just crawling. Didn't play into the hands of horses like Under the Louvre. We've got this comes back under with quarterback. It's hard to tell from this angle, but I think Under the Louvre's a bit further back than he sort of appears. These horses down the outside are probably in a little bit inferior going to, and these guys just out sprint them on the inside. So Fardanar just gets out sprinted. Quarterback, there's not many horses around that's got a sprint to match it. Probably Under the Louvre's one of the only few on its day. He just gets through his gears and he's off and gone. We've got this solid, General Leafe solid. I think that's Durandale solid. Forgives for these horses. It was just a slowly run sit sprint race and it didn't suit some of them. They've all gone. Fair enough, really. The ones that were suited ran the best. Not much to be learnt there. We'll look at the end of this race from our Mandan. Gets into the Melbourne Cup very lightly, I believe, off this run. I didn't mind the runs of Excess Knowledge and Zantika, and the other horse that I thought could improve, even though it's got a bit of a suspect record, is this horse, Dandy Gent. Probably not right up to the top grade of stayers, but has a tough run here. They do run along, and has a tough run. Sitting outside the speed here, takes over to the turn and only beaten off quite late. Our Mandan's well back this bunch here. He's probably the strongest late, and then Excess Knowledge and Zantikas, which is back with him. He's quite strong late too, but probably Excess Knowledge and our Mandan, the two that I could see being competitive in decent handicaps going forward. Zantika not completely hopeless, and I do think this horse, Dandy Gent, is capable of picking up a race over the carnival, whether it be a country cup or something similar. It's good to see. Look, he's got control of the race here, 300 out, and it's really just a matter of him having a much tougher run than these other horses, who are probably a little bit better quality than him as well. So they've got the quality and the softer run on their side, and you watch how well he battles away. He runs 5th, and he's not stopping. It's a solid effort. Zantika really hit the line nicely late. Never going to get near our Mandan. And Excess Knowledge battled away well. Great ride and a strong effort from our Mandan. Slowly run fillies race here. A lot of horses out of this race that had poor luck at their previous start, so it's hard to line them all up. The time's solid enough. And this horse is quite dominant back here in the light green. It's hard to spot, but it's got the Adelaide form. Comes widest and is quite dominant late. There is a horse in here called Allura that was basically knocked out of the race and had no luck. There are other fews that were held up and raced tight, so I wouldn't be surprised if a few of these runners did improve out of this race, but it's hard to see them beating Serene Discreet off this effort alone. She's just dominant, really, even though she's out of the wind and in the best part. She's pretty dominant. It's hard to make excuses for anything behind, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do improve, especially those on pace and the ones that race on that inside section restricted room. But still, Serenely Discreet looks pretty dominant going forward to longer fillies races. Hartnell and how well he's gone here has been very well publicised. They've gone out a solid tempo, and he's finished them off. So they've gone out quick and he's gotten quicker. So it's a slow tempo, but it's basically created by a good horse. He's, other races that went out this quick would have come home slow, and he's just increased the tempo from the turn and put them to the sword. It's incredible to watch a horse with other horses all under pressure around him, and he's still got his ears pricked basically and ready to go. So when he's let go, McDonald, you see the gap start to open quickly behind. He puts a gap in Jamaica, she puts a gap in Tally and Preferment, and they're running away from the rest at the end. So good things are happening, and it's just faster horses getting away from fast horses. None of these horses are any slouches, and these gaps are just opened up by pure speed. Hartnell's just exceptionally dominant. It's going to be a cracking race when he takes on Winks in the Cox Plate, I hope. I believe that's the reports, and it'll be good to see. Jamaica will go to the Caulfield Cup, and she'll be very hard to beat there. And Tally, which will have improvement in it. I thought he stuck on quite well, and he's not hopeless in the Caulfield Cup either. So pretty obvious stuff here, but clear margins and clear dominance really. Hartnell way too good for Jamaica, and Tally pretty solidly beat the rest of them, even though there's a big solid more of a bunch there. Not much of a race here, pretty poor. They run slow time. Some disappointments in the race, and French Emotion was probably suited by 1400 metres, suited by the wind, suited by everything, and used her turn of foot to beat them. So it's hard to, really be aggressively against her because she's shown such a dominant turn of foot to put them away. But I wouldn't be too... If she stayed at the same trip and it looks like a race where there's going to be more genuine tempo, I'd be keen to get bet against French Emotion next time out, let's put it that way. There's just failures from horses like Metaphorical, Manager S, Tilapia was up on the fencing in the worst part. There's just things against a lot of the runners here. They've run slow time. You can see that she pulls up quickly after the line, so she's got a short dash in her. So the slow speed of the last two runs have really played into her favour, and even though I don't want to say she can't be winning wherever she goes, because she's got some good attributes like that turn of foot, if you find a race where she's at that distance or further and she looks like there's going to be genuine tempo, I'd be betting right around her. Quick look at the last. Really not much to report. Slow tempo. Ullman and Federal look the ones in good form. Akavuran's come back off that Queensland preparation. Another horse that's coming out of that with a bit of residual fitness and run well. Ullman's really well ridden through the middle here. Just raced a little bit more forward than Akavuran, and Federal, who just didn't really get his chance to wind up. I was keen on Federal here and thought he might have been a little bit disappointing at first look, but he really only gets that last bit to balance up and get a crack at them, and they've gone so slow up front that it's too tough for him to get past them. But no knock on any of the place getters there. Really not a lot to be learned. It was a pretty quiet race really, and nothing too hidden in the merit of the other runners. But, you know, they're all in decent enough form. Hofgarden's run well. He's going to come wide and sustain a run outside Akavuran, but another one with that Queensland form. It's been so strong in Sydney and Melbourne in the early spring. So there's a review of both those meetings. Hopefully picked up a few things that were missed and learn a few things. And we're getting into the business end of the carnival now, so I'll try and keep up with the reviews and the previews, and hopefully we can find a few winners. So thanks, guys.